This podcast is brought to you throughout the month of November by our friends at Minimal Case. They are the cases that are so thin and light, they keep your phone gorgeous and add zero bulk. It's crazy how thin these cases are. It's also crazy how inexpensive they are because if you use the code DDPodcast, you'll get 25% off your order, which is pretty awesome. Just go to minimalcase.com and use the promo code DDPodcast or click the link in the show notes. Once again, that's mnmlcase.com and use the promo code DDPodcast to get 25% off your order, and we thank them for sponsoring this podcast. Good morning, Digit fam. Adam Doud here with the latest tech news that you need to know. I'm into day 3 of Disney Plus, and you betcha it's a fun time. I've been limited to MCU movies for the time being, but I just finished Age of Ultron, and I'm ready for some Phase 3 love. But for now, it is November 14th, 2019, and this is your Digit Daily. After months and months and months of rumors and speculation, the Motorola RAZR is finally here, and I have to admit, it's pretty exciting. It's not all wine and roses for sure, but overall, this looks like it could be a win for Moto. This phone is retro done right. This looks and feels like the RAZR of old, but has a decidedly modern twist. You've got a 6.2-inch screen which folds in half into a very small, pocketable phone with a screen on the outside. The specs are mid-range, as we've said before. Basically, take a Pixel 4, put a mid-range processor, and somehow an even smaller battery, and also only one camera. This phone has been in development for 4 years, and the specifications, they kind of bear that out. David Amell from Android Authority was on hand to see the device in person and published a video with some early thoughts, link in the show notes. The phone has a zero-gap hinge, and Motorola went to great lengths to explain how the back of the screen is reinforced and protected. Samsung. Basically, the screen dips about 1 millimeter below the body of the phone so it can bubble out a little to avoid the crease that plagues the Galaxy Fold. Plus, unlike Samsung's offering, this phone folds flat, so boom goes the dynamite. Some reviewers have pointed out that despite Moto's claims, there are places where dust can sneak in. Here's hoping that doesn't become a problem. If it does, Motorola will replace the screen for the life of the warranty, which is about 1 year. If the screen breaks outside of that warranty, then it'll cost $299 to fix. And you might be thinking that's a high price tag, but it's only 1/5 of the phone's price. Because this phone clocks in at the rumored $1,500, which is $480 less than the Galaxy Fold, but it's still $1,500 for a mid-range phone, and by the way, it's a Verizon exclusive. Motorola and Verizon have a long history of working together, going all the way back to the OG Droid. So while I can never say I'm really surprised when Moto launches a Verizon exclusive phone, I am surprised that they haven't moved on from that relationship. At least, let's just rip off the Band-Aid and announce for the next X number of years, any flagship phone that Moto releases will be a Verizon exclusive, and let's call it a day. Don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with Verizon. I do have a problem with carrier exclusivity. You're intentionally shutting out 2/3 of potential customers, and that's not a good idea. Even so, the $1,500 price point is still too high. For the middling specs that this phone comes with, including a single camera sensor from last year, the novelty of the folding phone isn't enough to justify it in my world. That said, everyone who was at the launch pretty much said that they'd be buying one, so maybe you just have to be there. Honestly, at $1,000, this is a home run. At $1,200, it's definitely a double off the wall in left center. But at $1,500, it's a ground out to the shortstop. Overall, though, I have to say that the positives here outweigh the negatives, as long as the phone doesn't blow up before its release, which, by the way, is December 26th. Okay, and officially launches on January 9th, and that's in the US. The rest of the world is going to have to wait until sometime in 2020. I'm excited to see how this phone does on the market. I expect it will be a soft market, but I also expect that Motorola expects that too. Then, we'll just have to wait for the RAZR 2 to come out. But you know what we won't have to wait for? The Roundup! Segways are my superpower. Google will start offering a Google checking account through its Google Play app next year. The accounts will be backed by Citigroup and Stanford University Credit Union, and this is just so Google. This year, Apple released a credit card, and Google followed with a checking account, which really defines the relationship that Apple and Google have with their customers. Apple puts out aspirational devices, a MacBook Pro, an iPad Pro, a credit card, and a streaming service with 4 TV shows on it. Meanwhile, Google releases products that people en masse will actually use. A checking account, a Chromebook, and actually no streaming services yet, but Apple's just came, so I guess just give it time. Disney Plus is in full swing, and according to some estimates, probably around 10 million strong in the United States. By comparison, Netflix has 60 million subscribers in the US, so that would probably explain the issues that some people saw on launch day. In some circumstances, 10 million people hitting a server would be considered a DDoS attack, so I think we can all just be thankful that some of us were able to watch Iron Man, and Iron Man 2, and The Avengers, and Thor, and Mandalorian on launch day. And hey, I still got work done, so leave me alone. Apple's Senior Vice President of Global Marketing, Phil Schiller, was on hand to announce the MacBook Pros that we talked about yesterday. And at the same announcement, CNET asked Phil about Chromebooks in the classroom. He said, quote, "Chromebooks have gotten to the classroom because, frankly, they're cheap testing tools for required testing. If all you want to do is test kids, well, maybe a cheap notebook will do that, but they're not going to succeed." Put into context, this is the same dude that said Apple was courageous in removing the headphone jack. C. Scott Brown at Android Authority argues that Chromebooks are more durable and cheaper than iPads, and he's absolutely right, but that's not the entire picture. Schiller said that Chromebooks are testing tools, which, sure, I bet a lot of schools use them for standardized tests, but my son is in a school with a 1-to-1 Chromebook program, and they use those things for every damn thing. Testing, sure, but also homework, research, writing, reading, and more. There's nothing that they do that has to be on a Chromebook. Any computing device would do, including an iPad. But educational iPads start at $300, not including the keyboard and pencil, whereas my son's Chromebook retails on Amazon for less than $300, and I'm positive the largest school district in Illinois did not buy them at retail, or else I have issues with how my tax dollars are being spent. Anyway, Phil, offer a durable iPad with keyboard and pencil for $250, then you get to talk. Meantime, actual people are trying to get things done here. And finally, in some cycling circles, e-bikes are considered to be cheating. Basically, the theory is you're letting the battery and motor do most of the work. Well, a recent study showed that cyclists on normal bikes and e-bikes along a 6-mile off-road course both showed rigorous activity in their heart rates and fitness trackers. But users of e-bikes reported that they didn't feel like they did any exercise at all, despite evidence to the contrary. It's an interesting study that also showed that users of e-bikes traveled approximately 4 miles per hour faster than those without e-bikes. So it's fair to assume that pedal-assisted e-bikes do make you work, but you'll get more out of less effort, which is kind of the point. Doesn't make them better or worse, just makes them more expensive. So that's going to do it for today's Digit Daily. If you'd like to learn more about any of these stories, check out the links in the show notes and subscribe to our daily newsletter on Digit.com. And if you like what you heard, subscribe, leave a review, and don't forget to tell your friends about DigitDailyPod.com. Once again, I'm Adam Doud, Dead Technology on Twitter, and we'll talk again tomorrow.